Hello and welcome to Question Time. I'm Benga Ashiru. In some time past, the allegation that lecturers demand intimate relationship with students of the opposite gender in exchange for high grade in Nigeria's citadel of learning had best been taken as a fairy tale. But with the recent release of the telephone conversation between a lecturer and a student in one of Nigeria's universities, both the academic community and the concerned public have now woken up to the reality of how Nigeria's institution of learning had fallen on bad times. As the Nigerian education sector hangs in an intensive care state, what can be done to revamp Nigeria's institution of learning? Send us a comment on our social media platforms. Our guest on this episode is a man who believes the education reform is on course. He is Nigeria's Minister of Education, Adamu. Join us in this interview.
Everyone in Nigeria will agree that there is falling standards in education for several years. You could just see it in the lack of competitiveness of our tertiary institutions in the world. I think we even talked about the ranking before we start this. There is falling standard of education, and since we came into office, we have been battling to start the process of raising it up. I think I will agree.
It will be recalled that at the outset of this administration, you came up with a 10-pillar of educational reform. So what happens to this pillar? Are the pillars crumbling?
Actually, the pillars are just being built up. We started with the enunciation of the policy contained in them, and then we did the retreat on it for all the ministers of the Federation, and then we are now doing the implementation.
Now, for the benefit of refreshing our memories, could you outline these 10 pillars so that we can scrutinize these pillars one after the other?
The first and the most important, and which we made the baby of this administration, is the out-of-school children phenomenon, which unfortunately Nigeria leads the world, and we made it the focus of this administration. We believe by the end of the administration we would have either eliminated it or at least reduced it considerably. After it, then, we have the effort to improve basic education, and then the reforms in tertiary education, and the technical vocational education and training, and then the issue of putting ICT in education, IT, and then improvement of library services. There are some policy issues also which have taken.
Now, if you say that these pillars are succeeding, how come it has not reflected in the standard of education, which you admitted initially as fallen?
You don't expect that the pillars will cure this thing in a day or in a night. We are just starting, and I believe probably by the end of the current term, we will start to see some improvement, especially in tertiary education.
Considering the fact that Nigeria's educational system is hanging in the balance, do you think there's a need to declare a state of emergency on Nigeria's educational system?
Probably you have to tell me what you mean by the state of emergency in education.
It's amazing because Nigeria's educational system can be said to be in an intensive care state. And you recall that at an expanded Federal Executive Council meeting, you called for an increase in investment and funding of the educational sector.
But that is not the same as declaring a state of emergency. I just want us to be on the same page. What does it mean to you if an emergency is declared in education, so that I will know exactly what to
articulate? But you are turning this interview back to me.
Yes, why not?
But the fact that you've admitted that we have a falling standard,
we have, and we have been doing.
It's already an emergency situation. It's already
okay. Then there is no need to.
It already shows that the state of education is
I agree.
in an intensive care unit.
Then there is no need to declare it if we are already in it. Anyway, if by emergency in education you mean the situation is desperate, I think it is. And, desperate situations require desperate measures to solve them. That one will do. For instance, if I take the issue of tertiary education, I don't think there is any time in the history of this country when the issue of governance has been taken up like this administration has taken it. If you look at the quality of people we put in the university councils, or the councils of the polytechnics, or colleges of education, we deliberately chose people who will add value to the system.
But it's quite difficult to comprehend why the educational sector should be calling for an increased investment, because we understand that year in, year out, educational system has always been on top of the ladder, taking the lion's share of the Nigeria's budget. But now it seems there is nothing to show for it.
You know, enjoying lion's share does not mean sufficient share. I agree, education has been getting something quite sizable, but it doesn't mean it is enough. What we are getting may be good, but it may not be good enough. And I can give you an example. I have said this several times. What I need to start putting the sector of education on the right footing is probably something in the region of about 1.4 trillion. And what I'm getting is just less than $500 million. So it may be higher than that, the allocation of some ministries, but it is not enough for what I want to do.
Now, it's on record that recently you decried the decline of the entry into national common entrance, which went down from 80,000 to 70,000. So what is responsible for this decline?
I think in 2017 it was 80,225. This year it is 79,879. So it's just a difference of about 230 individuals. The drop is not noticeable or something that you should comment about.
Now, another sad commentary in Nigeria's secondary education is that of securing the lives of students. Over time, Nigerian students have become victims of kidnapping. Now, studying has come with another attendant narrative, which is very, very despicable in terms of students now becoming victims of kidnap. So what are you doing to secure the lives of Nigerian students?
This is a very, very, very painful situation for me as minister. Starting, let's say, the major one in the northeast, and then it has gone round to some states that are not in the theater of the insurgency. What we start doing now, we are making sure that all our unity schools are fenced. And we are going to provide gadgets for monitoring. And with the latest in DFG, I think we decide we are going to have some trained personnel who will be able at least to guide students in situations like that. When insurgents come, if they will not be able to confront and defeat insurgents, but at least they will be able to give our students some direction on how to avoid injury, to escape, and so on. But the most important is we are going to fence all of them. I know the last time we took statistics, I think only about 47, I think out of 104 are fenced fully. Some are half fenced, and some are without fence at all.
Now, you talked about fencing the school and providing them with security. Do you have a timeline for this?
Well, the timeline is it has already been provided in the budget, and I think all the schools now are in the process of implementing this.
Another challenge in Nigeria's educational sector is Nigerian students going abroad for unaccredited courses. So what is the Ministry of Education doing in this regard?
You don't have to go overseas to find degrees not accredited. There are unaccredited qualifications in Nigeria. So this is something that has been going on. The ministry is always, the universities first of all will ensure that, for instance, now if you go to UI, you get a degree from UI. That one is recognized. If you go to an institution that is not known, it has to be certified by the ministry that it is up to standard. This has been going on. It is not something that happened yesterday or is happening today. It has been happening all through. And the ministry has been given the green light for qualifications that are from qualified accredited universities or other institutions.
Is there enough public awareness to stop this trend?
We cannot stop it. It is happening outside our shores. But what we are saying is whoever brings a qualification from an institution that is not accredited, will not be accepted.
So
for employment
in terms of enlightenment now,
yes.
Public awareness now, what is the Education Ministry doing?
Well, it is up to the students who are going out or up to the parents who are sending their children abroad to first of all make inquiries and find out that the institutions they are sending their children are accredited and up to standard. They have to do this, otherwise they will just be wasting their own money and their children's time.